Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pillar to Post. I am Rashaun Alleyne, and I'm joined as always by Kobia Hamblin. And together we are going to recap the last race day of 2025. It was the Boxing Day at the races, and it was presented by Diamonds International. And we're going to recap the two features: the Grade 1 Crown of Light Boxing Day Stakes and Trophy that was won by Public Sector, and the Cartier Tank that was for the juveniles that was won by Flying Jenny. And Kobe, we're gonna jump right into the Boxing Day Stakes and Trophy, the Crown of Light, and it was won very impressively by Public Sector.
Yeah, public sector. This is his first start in Barbados since his Gold Cup effort a few months ago. And Jalon Samuel Watkin, I say he is exactly who he thinks he is. He got the perfect letting along the rails and burst through with a tremendous amount of energy and just blew the field away. It looked easy as one, two, three for Jalon.
No, yeah, and we're gonna jump into the replay. The Public Sector performance was definitely very, very thrilling. But right off the bat, obviously coming in, the first thing you're thinking about is who's going to set the pace. And Rashid Hughes came up with a game plan from the inside, which you talked about in the preview show with Anissa to get to the lead, and he did that. But it was not easy on the front.
No, it wasn't easy, and I expected Jared Nipper, honestly, to show a lot more toes. He was urged early on and just got nowhere near Anissa. To be fair, Rashid Hughes did push him out in about the 5-6 path early on, but I mean, they're in a straight line. There's still no excuse for not being able to get alongside of her. She was able to sit down up front, and yes, she was humbugged maybe a bit earlier than she would have liked to be. She did 24:47. She was absolutely flying up front. She never had a chance to catch her breath. But I do commend her efforts. I am very proud of her. She did give her absolute best, and I don't think the connections can be any bit disappointed in her whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, coming in, I thought she was good, but I didn't have her rated this highly. Let's be clear, this is a 3-year-old filly that was able to do these things with seasoned campaigners and 24 and 2 and 47 and 4. Like these are condition fractions that are going to do her in. And she was able to stave off Portfolio Company and Jerry the Nipper. And I thought that was a huge performance. Just quickly on Jerry the Nipper and Portfolio Company, I think the mistake that the connections are making with these two horses is that Jerry the Nipper came from overseas, being the horse known for speed and being the horse known for setting the pace. But I think since he's come to Barbados, Portfolio Company has now repeatedly shown that he's faster than Jerry the Nipper. So I think it's hard to say, sacrifice your Gold Cup winner. But I think maybe now they need to change their mindsets where Portfolio Company might be the horse you need to send on the pace.
That could be so, but at the same time, I don't think Jerry Nipper is going to be the one to close late. I think they need to set it up for Smoking Tea, actually. The horse that I don't want to say they've been ignoring, but I think who may be the best of the three. Smoking Tea, who would have actually just floated by Portfolio Company and Jerry Nipper as if they were statues. I mean, if Jockey Pressy go, but he circled the two of them like they stopped. He duked it out with Enisa within the distraction public sector, burst through the rails and dismissed them very easily. But Enisa and Smoking Tea, I think Enisa ran a hell of a race, but Smoking Tea I need to see going 7. I think he's a lot better going 7. And if the race is set up for him at so I'm beg your pardon, not 7 furlongs, 9.
You're good.
I think if the race is set up for him, especially with the likes of Portfolio Company maybe pushing the pace a bit earlier, Smoking Tea is one to watch for the first Saturday in March.
No, this race was run on Friday at approximately 5:25. Leading into up to 5:24 on Friday, you can ask anyone at the Garrison who their Gold Cup winner is, and it's Smoking Tea. A minute and 34 seconds later, no one's probably going to say Smoking Tea. And I think that Smoking Tea fans shouldn't be disappointed in this performance. As you said, he might be better suited to the 9 furlongs. This horse also has not run in 6 months. And coming off the bench, he ran 135. If you take Public Sector out of this race, he beats Anissa by 5 clear lengths, and everyone is still, pretty confident that he wins the Gold Cup. Obviously, 4.5 quarter lengths the way Public Sector beat him is hard to envision turning it around, but I wouldn't be too dismayed by the performance of Smoking Tea, though Public Sector was able to do that. And then for me on Public Sector, like the pace was set up perfectly for him to run this well. Also, Jalon Samuel gave him a peach of a ride, just sat behind the pace and never came off the rails. And a lot of times now in these races at the track, horses are starting to just drift off the rails. And I don't know why that is, but Jalon Samuel is just sat perfectly and burst through on the inside. But no matter the setup, this horse was primed to win this race, and he looked fantastic in the flesh and just ran really well. So I think this was a great performance from public sector. There was a lot of stories from second through fifth. Obviously, Caspian Sea and Warbeat probably not up to this caliber, but this was a really, really good crown of blade.
Yeah, maybe the two of those horses are within that class just below the A class, so they're the 110 to 90 class. Um, but sometimes I did want to say about Smoking Tea again. You said the fans shouldn't necessarily be deflated or dejected on his chances on the first I had in March. This is 2026 Gold Cup. If you remember, Celestia Storm was dismissed by Infrared in the Coolmore in January. And look at that. The first I had in March, she was known as the Gold Cup winner. She won the Gold Cup, should I say.
No, exactly. She lost the JB Simpson to Gandalf and Boxing Day to Gandalf and lost the Coolmore, as you mentioned,
Correct.
to Infrared. And she beat both of them in the Gold Cup.
She
And then
won when
actually
it
really
mattered.
exactly, she won when it mattered. And then really quickly, another thing before we move on. The other big hype coming into this race was whether or not Nostradamus was going to take entry. And she did not. She ultimately did not. I think it was probably the right decision, even though I'm obviously disappointed that she did not participate because how does she win that race? You know, it's like she's never run 134 and it would have taken a lifetime best time to win that race.
Correct.
Then she's never really shown that 24:47 speed that Anissa did. I'm not saying she can't, but really and truly, do you think Nostradamus would have belonged?
Yes, and I do think she is faster than Anissa. I do think she has a higher cruising speed, but the thing about it is where Nostradamus has not been basically what happened to Anissa, where she's been humbugged the entire race.
Right.
Nostradamus doesn't get that breather she's maybe accustomed to getting, is full crank the entire time. So I do think she would falter at the top of the stretch, just like Anissa, but the pace would be the same 24:47. I don't think she's not capable of it. I just think she's not going to have that breather to have the strong finish she does. This race finished in 134, and the best we've seen from her so far is 135. But let's see
Yeah.
how next year pans out. Let's see how she does against the older horses. Let's see how she does against the imported horses. But for right now, let's take a look at the 2-year-old feature race, where there was a bit of commotion in the order of this race. There was a bit of commotion over at the 4 furlong pole with Copper Shot, who made a big sweeping move, but he threw out a good couple of horses when he did that.
Yeah. So I I think this was also a surprise for me with the early pace where Copper Shot did not show this speed in his first 7 furlong race. So for him to show this speed after bouncing Aspire right out of the gate, so he was a menace from the get go, and
Yeah,
taking on Aspire, as you mentioned, we're going to see the trouble that he caused. I think early I'm very surprised to see that ultrasound was dead last the way he was. I thought he would have shown a bit more speed. Also, Flying Jenny, who came coming off of one start, was not on the pace as we start to get closer to where the mishaps happen. I just think early on the pace just did not set up how I saw it. Aspire going, that's no surprise, but then Copper Shot being in the position that he was in was really tough.
yeah. Ariel came through the rails, and I guess the jockey on Aspire nor Copper Shot was looking for that, and that kind of caused the commotion because usually no one tries to come to that space. So I guess that was a bit of a surprise. But to cement what happened, Copper Shot interfered with Ariel twice, almost 3 times. So you kind of can't feel for what happened to Copper Shot. But Flying Jenny from the first crop of Stockyard, the son of Scat Daddy, she is having a time running with these horses.
No,
First
this horse,
First time at
go ahead.
7.8, a winner by a mile, dismissing ultrasound, Copper Shot, and well, I don't want to say dismissing Ariel. She had an unfortunate circumstance. Let's see how they go. Maybe they'll meet again in the hopeful, but Flying Jenny is a tank as of right now.
Yeah, I think Flying Jenny was very impressive to win this. I really think highly of Stockyard as a sire, just a son of Scat Daddy. That line, he's a true sire. So I really excited to see what his progeny will do in this country. And Flying Jenny, her mom wasn't necessarily something to shout about Aman Poor, but she's the daughter of Aman Yara, who is a Guineas winner. So there is a little bit of running on the dam side. And Flying Jenny, 2 for 2, very impressive. And to Copper Shot, who's her stablemate, I think going around that narrow point, just about the 3.5. Rashid Hughes was very bold to make that move. And obviously, if you have the horse, you can go through and secure that position. But usually, you don't want to be down inside there. I
Yeah.
think at that point, that's when Aspire was hampered. But I don't really think I would have disqualified Copper Shot for that initial contact with Ariel. But
That
definitely
was that
coming
was just a
down,
bit of an unfortunate circumstance, if
right,
you ask
that
me.
you are in that spot. No, exactly. But then coming down the hill, 2.5 now to go, he comes off like 3, 4 pass off the rail and then hammers right back into Ariel again. So it's like Devante Prescott was all over the place with this horse. The horse was rightfully disqualified to last. I wouldn't be surprised if he also doesn't get a penalty, whether that stays or money, but a fine. But I this horse was all over the place. But again, back to Flying Jenny. Really liked what I saw from her. And ultrasound is I like what I saw from him. He's also bred really well. He's out of a sister to the Bangor Baron and bounced back by Dorset, so he can definitely stay. So I hope going forward he get to be on the pace a bit more, but I really like what I see from Flying Jenny to win by 4 3/4.
Yeah, you did take mention of the implications Mr. Prescott would get from his incident. He's actually banned for the first race day of January, so he's going to be missing for a while. Copper Shot, as you said, was rightfully disqualified to last. Hampered too many horses too many times, but I do want to
Way
see the
too many.
I do I do want to see the rematch of Ariel and Flying Jenny, and maybe Ultrasound. I don't want to say will be ridden differently, but now you get a fresh chance. Tactics may change because I was surprised to see him last. I was very surprised. I actually had
No,
to
that was
take
definitely.
it. Yeah, I had to watch over the race a couple times and see if this was by design, if he was simply outpaced, if he missed the break a bit. It was just surprising for me, but he did make a big run at Flying Jenny, but that was all too late. Flying Jenny was long gone. It would have taken a lot. It would have taken
Yeah.
an amazing animal to take the legs out of Flying Jenny, who was rolling home.
Yeah, so it's good to see that we're going to have some good competition leading into their 3-year-old season. And that was a really good supporting feature to the Crown of Light. So that was our recap show for the Diamonds International Crown of Light Boxing Day States and Trophy Race Day. Um, we have Public Sector stamping himself as the early Gold Cup favorite, and Flying Jenny right now might be the leading 3-year-old. Um, then we have our preview show coming up for next race dates, the 120th anniversary race dates for January 3rd. Entries are already out. So, as I said, we will have a preview show for that where Soleil Levant, the top 2-year-old import, will take on some older horses now at 3, the 7 race card. There's also a minimum guarantee of $7,000 for the pick six. So, that's not necessarily gigantic, but it's not money to sneeze at. So, there's a lot to play
It's
next race day.
it is enough money to make somebody happy coming out of Christmas season. Coming out of just spending money on gifts, 7 grand will make them very happy. But as we always say, guys, thanks for watching and see you next time.
Thank you so much, guys. Just follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And as always, may all your tickets be written once.